Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Cali, Colombia, it's Shama Shram. This is Wisdom of the Sage. It's a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. What day of the week is it? We're all on vacation here, so we really don't even know where we are or what we're doing. We just someone told us to wake up early and get to this place, and now we're here. It's Thursday. Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. You just sort of like let him do his thing. We're not going to say anything. Good morning. People are just wandering. It's it's a lot of, because we're all at different places and we're staying off the places. Sometimes we have to hustle to get here. So I'm a little hustled up and set the computer up and missing a cord. And it's been one of those mornings.
Take a deep breath there, Rogo. Take a deep breath.
I'm ready. How are you doing, Kaustubha?
I'm doing okay.
What's the latest? What did I miss back in the States?
They inaugurate a new president.
Okay, I go away for one day. Now they inaugurate a new president. Well, all right.
Yeah. I listened to a speech yesterday.
How was the speech?
Well, in general, I'll always have my skepticism towards, politics and politicians and so on. But I'll say this. A lot of this speech, it almost sounded like it was right out of Wisdom of the Sages. It sounded like something you might say, Raghunath.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah. I brought quotes. Okay, you ready? Because I think, just kind of recognizing how divisive, how divided the nation is. He was speaking to that, to try to remedy to that, or speaking about healing.
You think they write their own speeches?
Well, no, they have speech writers that, but
Oh.
On different levels, they take part in how much they contribute.
Okay.
But, a politician will want it to represent their own, they'll have a speechwriter and they'll say, I want this in there, I want that out. In any case, here's a quote or two. He said, "We must end this uncivil war that pits red against blue, rural versus urban, conservative versus liberal. We can do this if we open our souls instead of hardening our hearts, if we show a little tolerance and humility, and if we're willing to stand in the other person's shoes." Right?
I could say that. That's something I'd say.
You could say
Like it's a very Bhagavatam-esque. You know what I mean? That's something we would say on the show.
It is. Here's another one. He says,
Get him as a
today
guest.
At this time,
Walk on Wednesday.
Can you line that up?
He doesn't qualify for a Sunday yet, but if you
Yeah,
can get him for Walk on Wednesday.
We'll give him 10 minutes. And so, and then here's another one. He says, "And so today, at this time, in this place, let us start afresh. All of us, let us begin to listen to one another again, hear one another, see one another, and show respect to one another. Politics doesn't have to be a raging fire destroying everything in its path. Every disagreement doesn't have to be a cause for total war."
I like that.
Okay. So, I think essentially a leader has to create unity, that's
Right.
it's kind of the first part of being a leader, essential part of being a leader is to bring people together. And people need to respect one another, so I like that, I liked all this, but I'll say this, that, I think these are the right words,
Yeah.
but the realization and the spiritual depth that it requires to live them and to inspire others to live them. That's, that doesn't come cheap. That's a rare commodity. And so
Yeah.
how profoundly, we understand the spiritual nature that unites us all. That's, you can just, cliches won't necessarily be the medicine for that,
Yeah.
and the courage to act on it, is another thing too, because, we can speak these words, and then as soon as there is some issue, if our spiritual depth isn't there, if we don't actually care about that person, if we see ourselves in competition, how far are we willing to take it, to live it? That's another thing. But I found it encouraging. I found it a breath of fresh air.
I find myself every morning saying something like, I got to become more God conscious. That's like my regular, like, what am I doing? I gotta get more serious about this stuff.
That's why I'm here. I'm here to hear from you.
That's why I'm here.
Okay. You're here to help me? Help me, Raghu.
No, I'm here to take association. I'm here for accountability. I'd just be sleeping in out every night, every day. I got bad habits I'm trying to break. And I don't have much time. Turned 55. I don't know when the clock's going to end for me.
You're 55. Man, you are getting old.
It is pretty. It is old. Your birthday's coming up next week.
Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon.
You're about to be 55 too. Isn't that interesting? Our pregnant mothers could have known each other.
They could have known each other.
They could have gabbed in the supermarket
or in the hospital. Or
in the hospital, yeah. All right, we're in the Srimad Bhagavatam.
That's right.
Canto 3, Chapter 1 text. We only got 2 texts left. We're going to finish this chapter, Kaustubha.
Okay, we're going to finish it today.
All right,
Let's do this.
Here's the magic mantras. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of fortune, and unto Srila Vyasadeva,
Goddess of
the author.
learning, Raghunath.
What did I say? The goddess of fortune? I didn't have my notes up.
Learning
Why
is
can't
a
I
type of
memorize
fortune.
that? I say it every day. The goddess of fortune. She's a goddess, and she's very fortunate. Nasta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Milatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual masters have come and opened my eyes, which were blind. I messed that up. Which were blinded by darkness with the ointment of knowledge. All right. I'm asking for some ointment today, Kaustubha. Give me some ointment.
We need some ointment.
Yeah.
It's right there in the verses, though. We can find it.
Text 44. The appearance of the Lord is manifest for the annihilation of the upstarts. That's a great word.
The angelic upstarts?
The upstarts. Is that a British word too? Do we say upstarts in America?
I don't know
We
if
do?
British say it.
Yeah,
British
yeah,
say
that was British. The appearance of the Lord is manifested for the annihilation of the upstarts. His activities are transcendental and are enacted for the understanding of all persons. Otherwise, since the Lord is transcendental to all material modes, the gunas, what purpose could he serve by coming to this earth?
Do you know what an upstart is?
Upstart's sort of like a person's going against the grain, has got an attitude. I don't know. Is there, you got a Merriam-Webster one for me, Mara?
I do. It's a person who has risen suddenly to wealth or high position, especially one who behaves arrogantly. And it's a derogatory word.
It's a derogatory word.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think commonly the way I think it's used, you kind of like, you just attained a new position. Maybe you're not really like
Qualified
for it.
You
So,
have no history. You have no history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the upstart. So
I
These
never knew
last
that.
two, huh?
I never knew that, actually.
Yeah, upstarts. I always thought that was a good name for a band, Angelic Upstarts, because it's like
Never got it. I never
you never
understood
did.
it.
You didn't think
Okay.
you didn't bother to think about it, right?
And then, yeah.
Okay. So these last two verses, we have Uddhava and or rather we have Vidura, and he's asking Vidura, Krishna's dear intimate associate. He's asking him, speak about Krishna to me now. We're here at the Yamuna River. We're here in the holy place. I've just like you were saying, hey, I'm here to. What did you say before we started?
I'm here for accountability. I'm here to get
Or
the
ointment or
association.
something. Yeah,
Oh, I
get
want the
association.
ointment. Give me the ointment, I
Give me
said.
the ointment. Yeah, so he's like, give me the ointment. Like I want to hear about Krishna, and this verse is speaking about Krishna in terms of his appearance, right? Because and two reasons for his appearance are kind of being discussed here. One is the one kind of like there's the practical and then there's the more esoteric, right? So like on the practical level, we understand the earth was suffering. These horrible leaders that were, as we read yesterday, they were being controlled by three different. It says they were under the dictation of three kinds of false pride. What were they? We had our mnemonic device.
Yeah. What was our acronym again? WEF.
WEF.
Wealth, education, and followers.
Followers. WEF. Yeah. So, operating, thinking they're independent and they're powerful, but actually they were, these blind leaders, or operating under the dictation of these three kind of false pride that's deeply embedded in their mind. Pride of wealth, pride of education, pride of followers. And so in their blindness and insensitivity and, and greed and so on, the earth was suffering intensely. And so Lord Vishnu said to Brahma and to the earth, okay, we're going to appear, I'll appear with the devas, and we'll clear the earth of this burden. And that's what takes place in the Battle of Kurukshetra. So that's, in one sense, that's why he appears, right? In one sense. But there's and even he didn't really deal with it all directly. He wanted, as was also mentioned yesterday, he wanted his devotees to take credit for it. He wanted the Pandavas to take that credit of, saving the earth, in a sense. But there's another reason here. There's another purpose, and this is the internal purpose. It's the more esoteric purpose, and it becomes real interesting when we're talking about yoga. But it's saying he comes to display his pastimes, right? His activities are transcendental and are enacted for the understanding of all persons. And I think that word understanding, it might even clarify it a little bit more. We said for the attraction, right? To attract the mind of all persons. That's why, because in order to kind of clear the earth of this burden, he didn't have to come personally, right? That could be carried out by so many other agents. But no one can display his lila but him.
Yeah, it's in one sense, like if I'm explaining all this stuff to someone who's incredibly new,
yeah,
you tell them this fantastic story that appears like a myth, and you explain it, and then you share but wait a second, there's some deep esoteric meaning behind it, and you give that meaning. But it comes full circle because it's actually not necessarily just the meaning. It's the actual pastime itself that actually absorbs and fulfills the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like a story with a message. It's the actual story itself that actually is transcendental. And it's what eventually starts to capture our mind. And it eventually starts to make us fall in love. And that's what happens is our love for that of matter shifts. The love of the material world will shift because the problem with the love of the material world is we're setting ourselves up for a tragic heartbreak. So we can love the material world only if we see it in connection with the spiritual realm. So as you hear these pastimes again and again, and that's why we do. And sometimes I always apologize. I'm so sorry. I know Mara's heard all my stories. I'm sorry. I'm telling the story again. But the proper answer is that we're supposed to hear them again and again. And every time we develop so I'm not going to apologize anymore, Mara.
That's fine. You know, I like hearing them.
So we hear these again and again, and they manifest different, and they blossom in a different way, and the blossom becomes fragrant, and then we become very, very attracted. And then what happens is we start to see the material world for what it is. We start to see the material world as, oh, I get it. Everything is temporary here. Everything I'm falling in love, even the things that are most dear to me, I don't possess. Even the things that appear like I possess them. I thought I possessed my children. I thought I possessed my spouse. I can't even hold on to those things. So it's hearing these stories that appear sort of fantastic, almost like cartoon-esque, almost like mythological, but that are laden with these heavy truths. And as we grow older, and as the material world seems to fail us, because it definitely fails everybody, it's like sort of a sucker's bet, then what happens is then our shelter goes directly to these pastimes, and our meditation becomes very, very fixed. Matter of fact, it's fascinating how meditation has gone in America, or in the Western culture, who's famous for appropriating these things from Eastern culture, especially India, and then sort of like replacing it with like nothingness. Like, okay, you're going to start to meditate on nothing. It's like we've stressed our lives out so much that the best thing we can come up to meditate is just nothing, just still your mind. But all the actual ancient teachings say, no, the meditation is not a nothing. Getting out of like a crazy space with your head is important. So just sitting there and breathing, you'll get some benefit, because generally our vrittis of the mind are so stirred up and causing so much internal turmoil. Just to sit and breathe is helpful. But if you actually want to get to the actual teachings, the meditation is on form, divine form or divine sound. It's almost like pranayama. If you're doing your yoga asanas, but you're not doing pranayama, it's good. It's just not great. And if you're doing these meditational practices, but there's no mantra or there's no form, of course it's good, but it's not getting to where the Vedas are actually prodding us to, or should I say, goading us to.
Okay, you can say that.
Someone wrote me and said Gaudiya Vaishnav. That's the name of the lineage we belong to, the Gaudiyas. What do you think about that? What do you think about meditation? What does meditation become? It's just sort of like meditate on a candle, meditate on nothing, meditate on a flame, meditate on your third eye, meditate on a light through your third eye.
Meditate on a golden pyramid.
Meditate on a golden pyramid.
Well, first let me address what you began with, where you were speaking about the Krishna's lila, Krishna's pastimes, which we read about in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatams. It's coming up. And Vidur's question is kind of leading towards that direction. But you were saying that on one hand that they almost sound like mythological stories. On the other hand, they have like some deep meaning to them, some practical meaning to them, some spiritual meaning to them. But even the story itself attracts the mind and attracts the heart, and that's as much or more of a purpose to it even than the message or the lesson,
right.
You could say, right?
Right.
So it reminded me of a quote. I pulled it up. This is from a really good book called The Dance of Divine Love by Graham Schweig.
Graham Schweig.
Yeah.
The Dance of Divine Love.
Dance of Divine. It's a book about Krishna's Rasa Lila. It's a bit academic, but it's really well researched. I found it to be a really valuable book.
Do you like the academic books on spirituality?
Generally not so much. I mean, I like them for reference.
Yeah.
But they don't inspire me generally. But there are scholars that really practice and understand. But I prefer hearing from the practitioners than from just those that are analyzing it. But he writes this. He writes, the special nature of lila, of Krishna's pastimes, is both playful and didactic.
What's didactic mean?
Didactic means it's like it's handing down a lesson. You want Mara? Okay. You got
Mara?
that, Mara?
Yeah, it's intended to teach, particularly in having moral instruction as an ulterior motive.
Okay, so it's here's the moral lesson being taught through. It's didactic, but he's saying it's both playful and didactic. It has two features to it. And so, although Leela is for the pleasure of Krishna and his devotees, and everything that occurs in Leela contributes to the delight and celebration of supreme love and beauty, there are aspects that also instruct those who have yet to enter into its esoteric beauty.
Mm.
Right? So I think that's essentially what you were saying, right?
Yeah,
There
yeah,
are lessons in it.
I think a very basic lesson, and I drill this every time when I deal with new students, is that because we're educated and mature, when we hear lilas, I always say like, hey, it's easy to say like, well, these are like fantastic myths, fantastic stories, but they have deep, important lessons. But that's not how the Vedas teach. The interesting thing about these Vedic teachings is they tell you what's a myth. They tell you this is an analogy, this is an allegory, and then they say this is true, and you're not supposed to accept it as myth. What you're supposed to accept is that you can't understand everything, and that's a huge thing to get. Like you can't understand. And I remember going to India for the first time, and being around the teachers we were around who were like sophisticated and educated and learned, and me trying to have a heart-to-heart conversation with one of them saying, well, we're all mature here. Why do we have to accept that Ganesh wrote the Vedas? I mean, I've never seen an elephant-headed man. Can't we just accept that there are deep truths here and skip all the myth? And the response was, what do you know? You know very little.
Yeah. Well, I see your question as being like, hey, I want to accept this, but don't make me cross a line where I'm almost like lying to myself that this could actually be true.
Sure.
Right. And I think their answer is kind of saying, hey, expand your mind. At least try, open your mind up to possibilities, things that the conditioning of your mind might look as ridiculous. From another point, could be seen as very rational.
We don't know anything. I know so little. I've never been to Colombia. I know I have been, actually, but I've never. There's so many places I've never been to. I've eaten fruits on this trip that I've never seen before. I don't know what fruits are out. I know bananas and oranges. That's all I know practically. And they're giving me these fruit that's. What do I know living in upstate New York? I don't know the whole world. I've never seen a zebra in real life. There's zebras out there. They look just like horses, but they're painted, striped. That's unbelievable. Things like that are unbelievable. And if I live in a little bubble, I'll never understand what's outside that bubble.
Yeah.
And
well,
and that's just in upstate New York and Colombia and the Amazonian fruits. What to speak of other planets or other dimensions?
Yeah, that's right. So if we're going to be, if we're going to be truly objective, and that's the point, right? I want to think objectively, and if we're going to be truly objective, like truly, it means that right off the bat we have to accept that anything's possible because our own experience is so limited, right?
Incredibly limited.
It doesn't mean that everything is true, but right off the bat, it means that my mind should be open to all kind of possibilities, and I can't deny something just because I haven't experienced it, because I've experienced so little. Right.
That was well said.
Okay.
That was well said.
So now we have this understanding that what Bhagavatam is going to give us, and again, we have Vyasadeva, this great yogi, this great master, this great mystic, who's going to write the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Mahabharata with the Bhagavad Gita and all the Puranas. And ultimately, he's going to conclude with this Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Purana. And he's going to reveal here.
He has this city of, he can see the past, present, and the future. So he knows what's coming. He knows what's coming around the bend in Kali Yuga. It's not looking good.
Coming. He also, and he's got this instruction from his guru that you've given so much information, but you haven't gone right to the very heart of it. And that means that Krishna's lila, that these pastimes need to be told. So Bhagavatam's working up to that, and we're going to get a taste of that kind of thing in the next few chapters when Uddhava starts to speak. But the idea is that, these stories, they're going to have important lessons in them. They are didactic. But as you were saying, they're not merely meant to teach moral lessons.
Right.
But the substance itself is the focus of meditation. It's what the mind is meant to be drawn to. It's what the mind and heart are meant to become attracted to. It is our root. And we're meant to reconnect with it, not merely intellectually, but from the heart, you know, because we are designed, our dharma is to love, you know. So the idea is we're meant to fall in love with God. We're meant to reconnect to that root of everything, um, really from the heart. And in
And-
order to do that, you need to hear about it, you know.
right. It's like if someone tells you about a sport they like, or a hobby they like, or a person they love, the more you hear about that person, the more you think, oh, that person sounds pretty cool, you know. And that's how you fall in love. You hear about.
Yeah.
And so the idea of this hearing, which comes through the form of these lilas, these stories, chanting or kirtan, it almost seems like, really, this is going to make me go that. Yeah, it does. It actually
Right.
brings you there. You start to fall in love, and you don't even realize what's happening to you at the time. But these or sort of seeds are getting planted in the heart, and then it's powerful, and it's drawing us. It's drawing us almost like to another realm, and it's leaving, and it's staying with us even after we walk away from it. So we've created that tether to like a spiritual platform, and it's just really from just hearing and just listening.
Yeah.
I mean, matter of fact, I can even say for my own life, I had no interest in getting into any of this stuff. Matter of fact, I wanted to get into everything except this stuff. I was interested in Buddhism. I was interested in Christianity. I was interested in esoteric Judaism. You know what I mean? And all these pastimes seem sort of bizarre, but I would listen to it. I would just because I wanted to be open-minded. But it started sticking, and I used it sort of as a gold standard of, you know, of okay, let's hear what these other traditions say according to this, and I used it as a sounding board. And then all of a sudden I said, okay, well, no, that's a pretty good understanding of the eternality of the soul, of a wide gated concept of spirituality, of an inclusive concept of, you know, a spiritual practice, or of the purpose of meditation, of the purpose of where we're going with all this stuff. And then after a while, you're like, actually, no, but I'm actually falling in love.
Right. So,
Also.
yeah. So it's what you just described was first the exoteric things, the things that applied to your rational mind, right?
Yeah.
But and that can, in hearing that, one can apply that in their life, and it builds faith, and it opens the mind up. If the same source that is giving me all of this practical information that I can experiment with and that appeals to me rationally, and you know, the more, like, you know, when you take out these texts and read them and their commentaries, and you see how vast they are and how consistent they are and how profound they are, it's opening the mind up, right? The faith is growing. And then it's saying, now here's this other esoteric part. Here's the part that might not appear, you know, that ultimately it does appeal to the rational mind. Ultimately, certainly to mine it does. But at face value, it's not rational. It's beyond rational, transrational, right? Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill. You know, little boy lifts the hill. Okay, you have your myth.
How
your
does he
story.
lift a hill?
It's sweet. Yeah, you know, how does it? But you know, rationally,
Yeah,
that's
the rational
where,
mind's not. It's a tough one to rationalize. You're lifting a hill. How wouldn't it just crumble?
And aren't these the
Right?
stories
How
that
can you lift a hill
won't it crumble?
with a pinky?
They're
Wouldn't
made
it
out of
crumble?
rocks.
Right?
It's a big rock, Raghunath. It doesn't crumble. It holds up.
Wouldn't it tip? You got to be perfectly balanced.
He was good with that. He was good at it. But you know, but really one could say, but rationally, why not? You know, rationally, why? You know, if someone could, you know, if someone can lift one thing, why can't someone lift another thing? Just because you haven't seen a boy lift a hill doesn't mean rationally, purely rationally, it's possible. Right? You just need someone strong enough to do it.
Yeah.
Someone stronger than the people that you've seen in your life, you know, could do it rationally. You know, that is a rational thought, but our mind tends to reject that kind of thing. Oh, those are just stories, and so fine, you know, then apply your mind to the more rational philosophy and the practice.
And there's a lot of rational stuff too.
There's tons of it. There's absolutely tons of it. And so that's why I'm saying, it seems to me like that's what happened with you. It was appealing so much to you rationally that your faith was increasing in the source, and you opened up
truthfully,
your mind to the rest
the
of the source
leelas
was
and the
saying.
stories didn't appeal to me so much. even though I love them now, and that's what I do. I talk about them, I tell the stories, but they didn't appeal to me. It was sort of like, this is a little crazy, but whatever. I believe I'm not the body, and I like the food. It really comes back to feed. It really comes down to feeding me, doesn't it? But actually, it wasn't just the food. Is the concept of cooking as a meditation. I thought that was genius. Like, wow, that's a genius idea. I'm going to cook as a meditation. To me, that sounded like, oh, I get it. Spirituality goes much more than this little thing where we go to a sermon, where it becomes part of my lifestyle, or working as a meditation. I heard this great analogy. I'm just going to share, but it's sort of like a cow is always eating grass, but always thinking of the calf. So we're working in the world, but our mind is always thinking of Krishna. Our mind is always in love with Krishna. It's never like leaving our mind. That's how we work in the world. So it's like that type of like training to be in this world, but in a type of deep meditation like that is how we move. And sort of that is what appealed to me. So when you hear something about, okay, there's this sage that compiled all the Vedas. Come on, all the Vedas, he compiled them, and then he disseminated them to different disciples, and he could see the past, present, and the future. And then you realize, and before that, it was just spoken. And then you start to meet people as you travel through India and meet just interesting, you live in ashrams, you meet all different types of people. You meet really kooky people, you meet really interesting people. Then you meet these people who are just like incredibly deep, and they actually have the entire Bhagavad Gita memorized. And it's not like a big deal when you start to think like there are people of like this incredible intelligence that they're put towards this stuff. And then you could say, yeah, maybe this stuff was just spoken, because look at these. And then you see children, and then you start to see how you ever see little children do memorizing Sanskrit slokas. They do it with their hands. Maybe one of our Indian correspondents here, a May or something. They do it with their mantras and hands, and they don't even read the Sanskrit. They hear the Sanskrit, because if they read it, it sort of makes you a little dumber. That's what I've heard. It makes you a little dumber to hear it. It's almost like learning to use math with a calculator is not as good as just learning math on your own without the calculator. It dumbs you down a little bit, just like using GPS as opposed to understanding roads and maps.
Reading maps. Yeah.
Yeah. So they do it, and they do it with like hand gestures, and that's how they learn the Sanskrit. And it doesn't even make sense to them. They're just learning these sutras, and they're packed. But as they go through puberty, it starts to unfold. It starts off with just like a seed, and then that seed, as they grow up, starts to unfold. And like the stories, which are basically like comic books, and a lot of like people who grew up in India, and my kids, and they grow up reading these comic books of the Mahabharata, the comic books of the Ramayana. And it's just like a story, a superhero, a mystical guy, an evil guy. And then all of a sudden, they become archetypes as you get older. Oh yeah, the archetype of evil and the archetype of good. And then they actually become divine beings. And then we start to see divine and divinity manifest in our heart. And like, wow, I have a lot of dark qualities and I have a lot of good qualities. And am I going to let dark win over the good? And these things start to unpack. So anyway, yeah, see, when you start to like examine the culture, you think all the stuff that starts off far-fetched starts like, actually, this part of the far-fetchedness is actually very real. Just like Ayurvedic medicine. Some of it sounds like, really? No, come on. I'm going to eat that and that's going to make me healthy. And then all of a sudden you start to like, actually, no, I did that and it did make me healthy. And you start to develop faith in a process that your rational mind, it doesn't make sense for my rational mind.
I think it's just it's saying that it's really trying to find out what's truly rational, right? What's truly rational. We have to expand our idea of what's truly rational, because we've set this conditioning within our mind has limited what we're willing to consider as rational, and it's preventing us from being truly rational. Like, for instance, the thing that you bring up about like the Vedas were just spoken and memorized. How could someone memorize it all?
How are you supposed to memorize this? Come on.
Okay, well, here's an explanation, right? Here's a rational.
You ever meet one of these guys that memorize things like they're incredible? Shrifti-dars, it's called, where they read it and they hold on to it in their mind.
Well, even I've met people with different, memnonic abilities, I suppose. But like, for instance, people will commonly say, oh, we only use so much of our brain, right? There's so much of it that's like
Yeah.
untapped. And I imagine there are different experiments that help illustrate that. But you do have this example, and I think I've shared it on the show before, of people with a certain type of autism. They have incredible memory, right? So
Right.
like, and so I saw this one film of a young person who had this type of autism, and they put him in a helicopter, and they flew him above Manhattan, just like one trip, you just whoosh, right across it, right?
Yeah.
And then he draws like a big mural that has like every building in Manhattan in it, you know, like to insane, you know, levels of accuracy. You know, now how did he possibly record all that information in his memory? Well, it's just saying that whatever that form of autism is, somehow it opened up, you know, what's not opening up to us. That the mind can preserve so much more. Or if you take something like a little recorder, right, like a little Sony Walkman or one of these little dictation machines or whatever, you know, that people have to record, that's a relatively simple machine, right? It's not
Yeah.
the most sophisticated electronics that we got. It's relatively simple electronics,
Yeah.
but it can preserve so much information accurately. Why is the human brain incapable of doing that? You know, just because we haven't expanded our own brains so much, and you know, we've hit certain limitations. It doesn't mean that that is the limitation of the human mind or the human brain to restore information.
You know, I used to do this men's retreat, which I haven't done in a while. I should do it again with this great friend of mine from the kids' Waldorf school where they went to. And he's like a survivalist, one of these outdoor survivalist guys. And he'd do this 2-week program when my son was a teenager, my older son was a teenager, where for 2 weeks they'd take this, you know, 15-year-old boys, it was a boys retreat, and they'd blindfold them for 2 days in the forest. And they have to live for 2 days in the forest, make fire, camp, cook, blindfolded. And there's we would do it on our retreat. We only did a weekend retreat, so we would do it just for a few hours blindfolded. But it's amazing when you take away one of your senses. And a matter of fact, you can do yoga like this. Maybe we should do yoga on this retreat, blindfolded. We did it. We did it at the Eco Village. You blindfold yourself, and what happens is you're forced to use other senses, and it tunes your other senses, makes your senses sharpen. We should do the show blindfolded.
Okay.
I guess that's like listening.
It's
to
harder to read the verses, but
it's hard to read the verses, but you have to hear. Yeah, I don't know, but it sharpens one of the other senses.
Right.
So with the autism is probably maybe one part of their learning is shut down, but incredible mathematical ability or incredible memory or something like that.
Okay. So right, we have more potential, and so therefore some of these things that sound mythological maybe aren't so mythological, right?
Yeah.
But getting back to the point that you made earlier that we haven't gotten back to yet, the point about meditation, right?
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Right.
You've got a pretty good memory too. I was way over that. That was a whole other part of my point. Do you take notes when I speak? Because I sometimes see you write.
Yeah. Well, I have to take notes to do the description.
See, if I was to write, I would be. The fact that you can listen and write, that's pretty impressive myself.
I don't do that much, but back to that point. Right.
Okay.
And I think this is so crucial, so important. And you know, a couple of weeks ago, we were speaking about meditation, saying, hey, really, whatever you're thinking about, you're meditating on, right? It's like your mind is being shaped by that.
I wonder historically where God got kicked out of the picture for meditation.
Right. So, this is the point that I want to make, and let's get there. Let's go ahead and get there, and we can talk about that. I think, you know, in one sense, Patanjali kicked him out. You know, he didn't entirely kick him out, but what he did was he said, if you don't want to talk about God, we can still get you meditating here. You can do it like this.
He made it sort of very broad for all people.
Yeah,
he just said some higher force.
Well, he said Ishwar, and there was a clear conception about what Ishwar meant in Patanjali's time. And he says Ishwar is a person. He said Ishwar taught the science of yoga to the ancients. He describes in detail who Ishwar is.
So how did he kick him out of the picture then?
Because he gave alternatives. He said you don't have to meditate on Ishwar. You can meditate on anything, on any object to settle your mind. And so a lot of people that are going to have trouble with the conception of an Ishwar, of a supreme controller, are going to find that appealing. So he gave that option. I saw a great quote. I always tell myself I got to fully get this quote down. I don't have the whole thing down, but I got it in general. And this was a quote from Krishnamacharya, okay, the super important figure in the history of modern yoga, who was
You could change the words around a little bit and just call it your quote.
I suppose I could.
Go on.
But what he said, he was asked, like, what is the purpose for asana, yogasana? What is the purpose for yogasana? Right? Well, why do you do asana? More or less?
Are you putting me in the hot seat here?
No.
Put Mare on the hot seat first.
I'm not putting anyone on the hot seat.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with hot seat. And so his answer was this. He said, for one who has faith in Ishvara, right? Yoga, asana, its purpose is to reconnect the soul with the Paramatma, right? Reconnect the soul with God. It's all leading towards that.
Paramatma means the super soul, or God in full within the heart of every being. So there's the soul, and then there's the supreme soul within every being.
Atma and Paramatma. So he says, if you have faith in Paramatma, if you have faith that there is a God, then your asana is practiced as part of the process of reconnecting you with God.
Patanjali said this. Okay.
No, not Patanjali, Krishnamacharya.
Oh, Krishnamacharya. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem. And then he said, for one who has faith in Atma, right? So he may have said one who has faith in Paramatma is to reconnect the Atma with Paramatma. For one who has faith in Atma, and the way that I understand this is that for one who has the faith that life is eternal, right? I'm an eternal being. I don't necessarily have faith that there is a divine being that is my source and that there's a goal to reconnect with that source. But I do have faith that I'm eternal, that I'm not just this body, but I'm the soul within the body that's eternal, right? So he said, for one who has faith in the Atma, yogasana is performed to unite the mind and the Atma, right? To get the mind and the Atma on the same level, where my mind is not confused and attracted to the material things, but I'm going within, I'm connecting with my divine self, like that. And then he said, for one who doesn't have faith in Atma, right? So you can say, like an atheistic person, I think I am this body.
Right.
Then he
What
said,
do they
asana, and this is the part that I always am forgetful about. I need to look this up.
This is the most important part.
No, not necessarily, but the whole thing is illustrating a point to me. And maybe what I'll do is tomorrow I'll search out this quote and bring it back for us. Maybe I can even find it on the show today. Let's see. But he said it had something to do with the prana, like, it more or less it had to do with physical health, like that.
Okay.
So, but my point is he gave those options, right? Ultimately, yoga is good for your health. Yoga is good for your mind. But ultimately, yoga is to reconnect you with the soul, with God. And it depends on your faith, how deep you can go into it. So Patanjali gave that option. Hey, okay, I want you to do yoga and practice yoga. You're going to benefit from it. Society's going to benefit. Humanity's going to benefit from it if you're practicing yoga. Well, you know what? But I can't swallow your pushing God on me, or an idea of
Spiritual
a
anything,
all powerful or whatever. Okay, well then you can meditate to settle your mind. You can meditate on it. Ultimately, the whole purpose that Patanjali wants you to get to is that you reconnect with that Ishvara. That you settle the mind so that your mind can be peaceful enough to focus on Ishvara, the form, the name, the qualities, the pastimes. But if you don't have that faith, well, then it's going to still be good for you to settle your mind. So meditate on any object.
That is the beautiful thing about the Vedic teachings. I think that attracted me. It's sort of like wherever you're at, we got something for you. It's like a one-stop shopping. All right, you don't believe in anything higher power. You just take care of your body. We want to upgrade your body then. Right. Okay, you believe in your body. Okay, then start breathing a little deeper. Settle your mind, because a fit body without a steady mind, what good is that? Oh, you believe in plant spirits? We got that covered too. Okay, we got plant everything spiritual. we got higher beings. We got fairies. We've got that all. You believe, right? And then you want to go to a single God? Okay, we got many options here.
They want lots of gods. We can do that.
We
for you, too.
got many avatars. You don't want to believe in something human? We got a tortoise. We got a boar. We got, you want something a little more human? We've got Lord Ram. He's pretty cool. He carries a bow. We've got
I'll
like
take
a whole
tortoise. Tortoise, please.
We've got a tortoise. I want to worship a tortoise. I woke up this morning feeling like that. We got that covered. So it's sort of like everything we got covered for you wherever you're at. But you know what it is? It's sort of like that parent who's just trying to encourage the kid with whatever the kids are at. What are you into? What do you want? You like film, you like sports, you like, okay, here, try that. Here, maybe you sign up your kid for the baseball team or the soccer team. You're trying to find their interest. The Vedas give you what you into mysticism. We got mysticism, but it's supposed to sort of get you first. I think the very first thing is to some type of health, because without health, there can be sort of like nothing. And so they get you. And then once you start to refine the body, then you start to realize this next step, which is you're something more than a body. There's a subtle body. And okay, there's a subtle body. Yeah, I never thought of that. And then it's sort of like, yeah. And the subtle body is controlled by the spiritual self.
But you can observe the subtle body. So who are you?
Yeah. I got to work on my mind. My mind is disturbed. But who's working on the mind? I guess there's a me working on the mind. Who's the me? Oh, that's next door. Come on in here. And it's one after another. Right. And it's sort of like lift. And if you don't get it in this lifetime, no sweat, you're going to take birth again. And it's a whole thing is like, we got like these lessons to go. And if you don't get it in this life, that's okay. You're going to just keep learning this until you actually transcend.
Right. Okay, great. So,
and I think in this like this culture that Kali Yuga's created, this consumption culture where we like, sometimes some of us have hit rock bottom at age 17, and some people, or like I'm sick of the material world. Then it's almost like accelerates almost like a springboard to like, you know what, I need something spiritual. I've given my life to matter. I need something spiritual. And some of us get like inspired at a very young age not because we're so evolved, but because the material world is so damn low that I just hit rock bottom and I need something to spring off of. And I think that is one of the beauties of Kali Yuga, of this age that we live in, is it grinds our nose into the dirt and makes us realize, I don't want to eat dirt anymore.
Thank you for that. So getting back to the meditation point.
Yeah, we never got to the bottom of that.
Well,
I mean,
this is the point. So what you said is all true, and it's important that the Vedic teachings and the yogic teachings are so broad and vast that no matter where you're coming from, it's kind of like, I've heard it described as the Alice's restaurant of spirituality, right? You can get anything you want. If you want a tortoise.
What is Alice's restaurant? Is that a movie?
A song.
Paramananda doesn't know.
It's
from a movie.
Arlo Guthrie song.
Oh, sorry. Mallory's looking at me like ashamed that I don't know.
Do I want to be here with this guy in Colombia?
He doesn't know who Alice's restaurant is.
Yeah. But all that being said, in other words, there's a multitude of ways that one can practice yoga. And we might get attracted to those that like take God out of the picture due to our own psychological disposition, or you could say our own conditioning.
Yeah.
But this is a real important point, and this is where like bhakti, the idea of bhakti yoga, and what's so special about it, what's so powerful about it, what's so dynamic about it. Even the yogis, like the Jnana yogis, will commonly admit, yes, bhakti yoga is the easier yoga, because we're very weak when it comes to self-control. We're very weak when it comes to controlling the mind. We're very weak when it comes to controlling the sense. We are super weak at these things. Western society, of the 21st century, we are super weak at self-control. So these, the practice of Ashtanga yoga, for instance, where I'm going to sit and meditate and go into samadhi, we're practically hopeless. We're practically hopeless, right? But bhakti yoga, it's the idea is that it's not dependent merely on my self-control, my ability to sit silently and control myself, which so much of yoga is dependent on that. Jnana yoga, Ashtanga yoga, etc. But in bhakti yoga, the idea is that my mind is going to become attracted, just as my mind becomes attracted to material things spontaneously and powerfully. It can be connected with Krishna's lila. It can be connected with a personal form. It can be connected with beauty and mantra and sound, all related to that divine being. And the sentiments that are in me now and being misdirected can be redirected and purified. And now my yoga and my meditation will become spontaneous and strong. I'll feel, in other words, it's hard for me to sit and think of nothing. But
Right.
to sit and think of these beautiful pastimes, the beauty, the love that's expressed in them, the poetry that's in them, the music and all of this, it's, if one can open their mind to it, if one can set aside their conditioning a little bit and expose their mind to it, the depth of the beauty in it becomes attractive. And that natural attraction makes the yoga powerful. Now my mind is going in one direction without the struggle, right? And that'll play out in all the forms of the culture, in the cooking and the music and the drama and the poetry and the fine arts and all of that. Now I have an entire culture that's supporting my yoga practice, supporting my meditation. And so like you said, there are 4 objects of meditation in Bhakti Yoga. They're all related to God. Name, form, qualities, and pastimes.
Name, form, quality, and pastimes. Name, form, quality, and pastimes. Name, form, quality, and pastimes.
Namaguna Rupa Lila.
Nama, guna, rupa, lila.
Yeah.
Got that, everybody? You're going to be quizzed later.
And so what's happening here is that Vidura is turning to Uddhava and saying, Krishna, you're intimate with him, you've associated with him very intimately. Please speak of him now, because I want my meditation to go there. I want my mind to be spontaneously attracted and powerfully drawn in that pure, uplifting, elevating spiritual content.
Guess what?
What?
It's time. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Another day of yoga and tropical fruits.
Spend a little time with Kalpa the horse today, Raghu, okay?
Kalpa the horse. I'm not a horse person, but I'm going to try to connect on a subtle level.
You're a
that
tortoise
horse.
person?
What's that?
You're more of a tortoise guy?
More of a tortoise worshiper myself.
Okay.
Now there's incredible birds. I like the squawking parrots.
Yeah. They got the big macaws there, right?
Yeah, they have these big parrots. There's 2 parrots that are like lovebirds, and there's like the other parrot, and his partner died, and he's sort of excluded from the gang, and I feel bad for him.
Make friends with him today, Raghu.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and what do I usually say at this time to close?
It's a great day for a great day.
Sweet Baby Krishna is happening tonight, 7 p.m. We're telling Krishna's pastimes. It's been fun. It's a great way to wind down the night instead of staying up late and getting into YouTube black holes. Don't go there. Come with us and go into the Krishna light hole where we go to bed dreaming of Krishna. It's quite sweet. It's the ultimate bedtime story.